China is no longer the leading country from which Americans adopt children. That spot now belongs to Ukraine. But since the war with Russia began in February 2022, Ukrainian officials have halted out-of-country adoptions due to the strain the war has put on government resources, leaving many Ukrainian orphans and adoptees in a vulnerable position and hoping the adoption process can begin again soon. Joining us now to talk more about this is Dr. Rick Morton, Senior Vice President of Engagement at Lifeline Children's Services, the largest evangelical adoption agency in the country. Dr. Morton, good to be with you today. Can you explain to us in a little bit more detail how the war affected the adoption process in Ukraine and also the impact it's currently having on the children who are waiting for a forever home?
Yeah, the effects of the war have really brought about chaos for vulnerable children, particularly those that were in orphanages in Ukraine. And we've all seen the pictures and heard the reports over the last, more than a year of the children that have been displaced from Ukraine. I think it's a protective thing for children for a country to shut down to adoption during a war, just because there are so many children that are unaccounted for, children that are lost in the system, children in Ukraine that are displaced into other countries. And so I think right now our focus should be on trying to help them in ways that bring stability to them and limit their trauma, with a resumption of adoption once things have settled down from the war.
Yeah, and how can we do that?
Well, I think right now, having the opportunity to support charities and other work of people that are investing in the lives of Ukrainian children, whether that be in places in Poland or Czech Republic or in Romania. Also, there are quite a few reputable organizations that are working inside the borders of Ukraine. We have a partner ourselves called Heritage Ukraine that works in the Odessa region, and they're working primarily with children with disabilities who were in the orphanage not because they were available for adoption, but because their families were having extremely difficult times caring for them because of their disability. When the war broke out, the Ukrainian government had to make the hard decision to send those children home because they didn't have the resources to be able to care for them, and neither do their overwhelmed families. And so I think we can pray for them, we can advocate for them, but we also can financially support the work that's going on to bring stability to them inside of Ukraine.
Yeah, and Dr. Morton, I know this is something that's really close to your heart. You yourself have adopted children from Ukraine. Can you tell us a little bit more about them, also what the adoption process was like for you?
Yeah, the adoption process for us was very different with all three of our children. One of them came home as a toddler. Our daughter, our last adopted, came home as a 14-year-old. And so, but what we found were incredible opportunities to be able to bring a child into our family who was in need of permanency, in need of a family, who likely was not going to be able to be adopted within the borders of Ukraine. And although it was difficult at times, the government was extremely helpful in helping us to be able to get to our children and to make that dream a reality for them and for us. And what I would say to people that are considering international adoption is that international adoption is worth doing, and it changes not only the life of a child, but also the life of a family.
Yeah, Dr. Morton, we have maybe a little over a minute left or so, but quickly tell us about your organization for those who aren't familiar with it. You do adoptions, but you do a lot more than that.
Yeah, so Lifeline, we exist to equip the body of Christ to manifest the gospel to orphan and vulnerable children. And that just means that we work in adoption, foster care, family reunification, all kinds of ways to be able to help Christians to be able to work on behalf of vulnerable children and vulnerable families. And so we would love to connect with you or connect with your church at lifelinechild.org if you have an interest in this area. And we would love to see if there's a way that we can come alongside you and help.
What else would you like people to know about international adoption, in particular as it pertains to Ukraine?
I think in Ukraine in particular, but international adoption in general, has changed a lot. And today it's about adopting older children, children with special needs, children that have complex social histories, like a part of a large sibling group. And it really, we need really special families that are ready to take on the challenges that an older child or a child with special needs presents, because those are the children internationally that are most in need of adoption and permanency outside of their country.
What would you say to those folks who maybe are considering it, but think, I'm not sure if I can do it? What advice would you give them?
I think you'd be surprised what you can do. And the second thing I would say is journey with an agency and with a group of people that can help to prepare you, but also can help to support you, not only through the process of getting to a child, but also can really help support you as you bring a child home and parent a child that may have come from trauma or a difficult situation, and be able to provide that loving home for them.
Well, Dr. Morton, thank you so much for coming on today and speaking with us. We appreciate it, and thank you for what you do. God bless you.
Thank you.